and welcome to BSB Preview. This is our March 2021 edition, airing in February, of course. And on this panel this evening, I have with me Lynn Hemphill, Dena Blake, Lee Patton. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already met me, my name is Sandy. I am Bold Strokes Books Senior Editor. And as I said, this is BSB Preview. These lovely authors will be reading from their March releases, which are available for pre-order now from the Bold Strokes Books website. So we are gonna start with Deanna Blank, if you don't mind.
No, I get it out of the way.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
So Dena is reading from Next Exit Home. If all our other authors could turn off their audio and their video, that will allow just Dena to appear on the screen. Thanks, and just intro yourself and start whenever you're ready, Dena.
Okay, I didn't write an intro, but I think this is number 10 for me. And this is Next Exit Home. It's a story about going home, the feelings around it, the obstacles it presents for someone who never felt like they fit in. This scene is the interaction between the main characters, Harper and Addison, when Harper first arrives in town. Addison watched from the window as the white Ford Explorer drove up. "Who is that?" she said to the empty waiting room as a woman got out. She was the most gorgeous creature she'd ever seen. She vaulted from her chair to get a better look and watched as she lifted a Cocker Spaniel from the SUV. "Oh my God, she's coming in here." She pulled a small compact from her desk drawer, looked at her reflection, and tossed it back into the drawer. She sped down the hallway past Jessie. "Thank God you're here early. I'll be right back." She rushed to the bathroom, tugged a brush through her hair, and fastened it into a ponytail. Then she straightened her favorite hoodie with the faded logo on the front. Right about now, she was wishing she'd taken a little more time getting ready this morning. She pinched her cheeks, moistened her lips, and went back out front. "Good morning." "Really? Is that all that you can think of to say?" She couldn't stop her gaze from roving down the woman's red and black flannel plaid shirt to her form-fitting skinny jeans. The woman smiled slightly and said, "I'm looking for Dr. Sims." "He's not in this morning. Is there something I can help you with?" "No, not really. Is he at home?" "He doesn't usually see patients at home." The woman kept eye contact as she nodded and pulled her lips into a half smile. "That's good to know." She craned her neck and looked around the woman to the Explorer parked out front. "Do you have a pet in the car?" She knew fully well she did. "Thank you for your time. I'll catch him later." The woman plucked her Ray-Ban sunglasses from her head, where they'd been nestled in her thick, dark hair, and slid them on before she turned and went out the door. The woman was gone before she could say anything more. Was this a temporary veterinarian she was expecting? From her last discussion with Jim, she'd thought the fill-in was a man. Addison's feet seemed glued to the floor, but she noticed someone waiting in the SUV. She immediately rounded the counter and sped to the window to get a better look. It was a young girl, one who looked a lot like the woman, but much more familiar. The car had Colorado plates, which meant she was local, right? Blue Ridge was somewhat of a tourist town, and they didn't get many new locals needing a veterinarian. Her stomach dipped as the woman's electric blue eyes flashed through her mind. Who was she? Who were they? Why hadn't she seen her around town before? And why didn't she bring her dog inside if she was looking for a vet? She rushed to the counter, picked up the phone, and called her mother. "Some brunette's here looking for Jim." She fanned herself with a piece of mail from the desk. Not just some brunette, a gorgeous one with dark hair and light eyes. The perfect combination hit her hard. "Oh, she's here early. She's here, Jimmy." Mom, I can't hear you. What are you saying?" "I'm sorry, honey. I had to tell Jimmy. We weren't expecting her until later this afternoon." "Who, Mom?" She dropped the mail and gripped the counter. "Who weren't you expecting?" "Harper. Didn't you recognize her?" "Harper, as in Jim's daughter?" She dropped into the desk chair. That couldn't have been Harper Sims. She was too perfect. No way. She has a teenager with her. Her daughter, Eden. That news was certainly going to throw a monkey wrench into her life. "Why didn't you tell me she was coming?" "Well, we weren't really sure she would. We'd planned to bring in someone else, but after Jimmy talked to her, they decided that she'd help out at the clinic while he's recovering. I'm taking care of the clinic just fine." I've been working with Jim long enough to know how to do most everything he does. Yes, you have, but you're not a licensed veterinarian yet. There are some things you can't legally do without him there. People are fine with putting off elective surgeries for their pets until he gets back. We need to be able to handle emergencies if they arise, and Harper is licensed. She offered to help Jimmy, and he accepted. What the hell, Mom? She hasn't been back in over 5 years, and now you're going to let her take over? Listen, Jimmy misses her. She needs this opportunity to make things better between them, and don't get in the way of that. She ground her teeth together. Fine, but you could have at least told me. I didn't think you'd care. You weren't really friends with her, were you? No, but I'm keeping this clinic running. You're right. I'm sorry. Maybe this will free up some time for studying. Yeah, maybe. The bell on the front door chimed and she glanced up to see the postal worker delivering the mail. I've got to go. Talk to you later. She didn't wait for her mom's usual I love you at the end of the call. She was angry and she didn't want to hear it at all right now. She really hadn't been friends with Harper when they were younger. In fact, she'd been crueler to Harper than she could ever admit, especially to her own mother. She dropped the phone into its cradle and paced the room. I'll be back in a little while. She brushed past Jessie and took off out the door. She had to get out of this space and figure out what to do about this development. Her system was on fire, reacting the same way it had so many years ago when they played 7 Minutes in Heaven at Harper's 16th birthday party. She'd been so pissed at Gemma, her so-called friend, for throwing Harper's name out there. Everyone knew she was gay, and no one had volunteered to go into the closet with her. It was cruel, and Harper hadn't been raised that way. And Addison hadn't been raised that way. She'd crossed the circle of jerks, taken Harper's hand, tugged her into the closet, and shut the door. She closed her eyes as she remembered the encounter and let the heat overtake her, just as it had then.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So interestingly, I also wrote part of my character's backstory in my last book, having a high school game of 7 Minutes in Heaven, but I've never played it. It's like this kind of, I don't know, American teenage thing that you're supposed to have done, but I never have. So have you ever played it? And if so, did anything interesting happen?
Have played it, and I'm going to have to read the film. Sorry. Right. No. It was a young teenage thing. Maybe some kissing, that's it.
All right, cool. So tell us a little bit about this book. What inspired it for you?
It inspired me because sometimes I go back and I look at classmates.com, stuff like that. And then for me, some of those memories aren't so great. I know a lot of people loved high school and all that. Some of the people I really liked, but the whole experience wasn't really that great. And I found myself getting caught up in that, and some of those feelings really came back. So I thought, well, maybe I should explore this a little more and put that down into words. So some of those feelings are mine. Some of those are the characters. Some of those are mine. So
cool. That's always great when your fiction is inspired by some of your own experiences, and you can portray that really genuine emotion. Cool. Lovely. All right. Next up, we have Lynn Hemphill reading from her debut novel, Not Broken. Hello.
Hi.
Lynn is a brand new author with Bold Strokes Books. Please go ahead and let everyone know who you are and a little bit about your book, and you can start reading whenever you like.
Thank you. All right. So I'm slightly less organized. I've just got my own book to read from and sort of all the notes scribbled in the margins. So Not Broken is about Rose, who's a misanthropic, tough guy who thinks she doesn't need anyone in her life. Meeting Max, a trans farmer, because obviously trans guy screws that up a bit. Rose can't do things the easy way. So This scene is when Rose and her ex-boyfriend Harley have just told all of their mutual friends that Rose is pregnant with Harley's baby, and that she's carrying the baby for Harley. It doesn't mean they'll be getting back together and bring on the drama, basically, together. It was met with stunned silence and was, as Max muttered to Jamie, no less awkward. Mija opened and closed her mouth a few times before stomping out. Alicia and Chelsea gave Rose the stink eye before following, and she wondered in amusement if they actually cared about the situation or if they were just blindly loyal to Mija. Eliza broke the silence. So what are you going to do about the tour next year, Harley? Huh? Don't you dare look at me like that, you brainless idiot. I am this far from a nervous breakdown about it already. What are you going to do with a tiny baby while you're on tour? I haven't actually. Of course you haven't. He turned to Rose slowly. I don't suppose. No, Harley, I'm your surrogate, not the kid's mother. Well, you kind of are, muttered Frank. Screw you, Francis, she snapped. Why do you think I wanted an abortion? Slut, he hissed. Hey, that's enough, Max said, he and Jamie both stepping forward. Joss looked horrified and slapped her boyfriend. Max put his hand on Rose's shoulder. Frankie just snorted into his beer and shook his head. Yeah, Rose looked at Harley. I think I'll be off. No, Rose, please. I'll play your repeat every night, I promise. But you can all get fucked if you think I'm sticking around for this. She turned around and stomped back downstairs, making as much noise as possible, as if she could expel all her fury by stamping like a toddler. Hot tears were tracing their way down her cheeks as she burst out into the alley, pulling her cardio across her chest when the light drizzle hit. She was almost at the crossing when a heavy hand fell on her shoulder. She reacted instantly, spinning to catch the hand with a rolling grasp and striking at the face with the heel of her other hand. Whoa, 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 God's sake, Karate Kid. Jesus, take it easy. Rose controlled the strike inches before it smashed into Jamie's nose and stepped back. What the hell was that, Rose? She shrugged. Karate. That was badass, crowed Max, catching up and leaning on Jamie's shoulder, wheezing. Mate, you need to quit smoking, Jamie laughed. Max shrugged and lit a cigarette, pressing at the centre of his chest. What are you guys doing here, she demanded, shaking the adrenaline out of her arms. Getting beaten up by the looks of it. You a black belt or something? Blue. Got my brown belt grading in a few weeks. She huffed. Guess that'll have to be put on hold now. Nah, said Jamie, flapping his hand. My sister was mucking out and riding every day until the morning before she popped. Just take it a bit steadier. You guys have horses? She grinned. Always knew you were a bit posh. With farmers, love, would you call the Wurzels posh? To be fair, you are actually a bit of a gentleman farmer, Jamie, Max added. Does that make you my serf or vassal or something? Max grinned, a deep dimple appearing on his left cheek, and dropped a cigarette butt in a drain, blowing the last lungful of smoke away from Rose. Are we going to stand here all night, or have you got a destination in mind? You guys should go back to the gig. It's nice of you to come after me, but I don't want to lose Harley any friends. We're not playing favourites here, Max said, shaking his head. We'll go to all the other gigs, maybe. But what Frank said was not okay. Joss was furious with him when we left. You guys have been friends with them for ages. You barely know me. I know when my friends are wrong, muttered Max. Jamie patted him on the back cheerfully. So where to? I was just going to go home, she sighed, rubbing her forehead. You're welcome to come over if it's not too boring. Netflix and chill, Max grinned, eyebrows waggling. Rose smacked his arm and led them up the road to her little flat. They drank tea and spread themselves on the beanbags and two-seater sofa in her living room, talking and laughing. It was 2 a.m. before Rose finally checked the time on her microwave as she prepared the 5th round of tea. Jamie had fallen asleep, curled into a nest of beanbags, and Max was yawning when he took the cup she held out. She scritched his scalp and he moaned into his drink. I've seduced people for less, he whined. She laughed and stomped on something under her ribs. Maybe she was starting to feel the fetus move or something. This was fine. This was good. Friends were, she'd been told, a good thing to have, and they were a little thin on the ground. She slipped down onto the sofa and Max leaned against her shoulder, eyes falling shut. Rose finished her tea and rescued Max's cup as he slid down to rest his head on her lap in his sleep. She brushed her fingers through his inky black hair, silky strands slipping across her skin and falling on his pale cheek. His long legs dangled off the side of the sofa. Friends were a good thing. Rose woke up to the smell of bacon and eggs and 2 guys in rumpled button-downs making coffee and toast. Oh my God, she moaned when they put a plate and a mug in front of her. I freaking love you guys. The tears came as a surprise. She couldn't seem to stop them, possibly because they'd caught her unawares, and she was soon gulping and ugly crying into Max's shoulder while Jamie stroked her back. Pregnancy hormones, huh? Max grinned once she'd gotten herself under control. No, she hiccuped. I just really feel that strongly about bacon.
Awesome. Does anyone feel that strongly about bacon? I don't know. That was great. Great reading.
Thank you.
it's always hard when you're new to do your first reading. So you killed it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Please give Lynn some love in the chat roll for that. That was totally awesome. So for our readers, just kind of for clarity, can you explain what it is that makes your book LGBTQ?
So Max is trans, and although Rose is very oblivious about everything to do with it, a lot of the story involves her going forward and actually learning and realizing that she doesn't have to be just such a standoffish person all the time. She can still be her cervic self while actually listening and caring about people. And the book is basically about femininity and the performance of womanhood, I suppose, or gender anyway. And Max, of course, has a very specific take on that. You know, she's pregnant and she feels like she'd never want children. She doesn't want to be a mother. Harley is incredibly paternal. He desperately wants children, and he's been mocked his entire life for being a girl and that kind of thing. And so Max he's got his own take on a lot of that, and he sort of allows. He is important enough to Rose for her to realize what she's been fucking up, really.
That's kind of true for a lot of romance novels, particularly when that someone comes along and you're like, oh,
yeah. Yes, he's not teaching her to be a better person. Mm-hmm. He's just there, and she really likes him. She is going to dig a bit deeper and actually make an effort and learn and be better for herself and her friends and her and for Max, and she will she'll actually grow.
Awesome. All right. I love it. Thank you so much. And you got a bunch of love in the chat roll. So that's great. Okay. Next up, we have Lee Patton, who is reading from his March release, Coming to Life on South High. Hi, Lee. How you doing?
Hey, Sandy. So once again, I'm the only guy. All right.
I know. But you know, it's not so bad. We're all really nice here.
No, it's actually kind of fun to listen to all this. It really is. This is my first reading. It's not my first panel, but it's my first reading with Bold Strokes Books.
Awesome.
It's my second novel.
Alrighty. So again, if everyone can give Lee some love in the chat roll for his first reading, I'm excited. And yeah, go ahead and introduce your book and start reading whenever you're ready.
Okay, I think I'm ready. This is sort of a mainstream literary novel that follows a gay man's first decade of adulthood. He starts off as a college senior who is still a virgin. And it follows him through what I call 4 familiar kinds of trouble that everybody faces in life, I guess. Love and sex, family, friends, and career. And in this early scene, it's kind of where love meets family, I guess. It's during Gabe's summer after he graduates from college. He's already lost his one true first love, and kind of as an act of stupid self-revenge, he's kind of been exploring multiple hookups all summer long. So this scene begins with him violating one rule of his summer of hookups, which is never to fall asleep in the other person's apartment and always to escape early in the morning. So it begins. One late Saturday morning in August, Gabe had made the after-sex mistake of falling asleep in the narrow bed of a Mexican-American ex-Marine who was genial and skillful, but far too short. Having endured the ex-Marine's instant coffee, stale bear claw, an awkward reaching hug farewell, Back on South High Street, Gabe found an unexpected visitor who reached his apartment's house doors just as he did. A tiny, thin woman in hospital scrubs awaited. Wrinkled and enervated in later midlife, her olive skin gone sallow, and her dark hair invaded by wiry gray-white intruders. It was his mother. Gabe was immediately embarrassed. At the sight of his mom, the promiscuous operator was reduced to a boy fresh from some unholy mischief. He wondered if she could smell the sex on him. The sun was already punishing, glaring down on his mom's crucifix, so it glinted through the open top buttons of her scrubs. His mother offered a hug. Gabe planted a kiss on top of her head. "Fancy meeting you here," she said. "I just got off my all-night shift. Was hoping you'd be home." "They have phones now, Ma. In real time, you can inquire if the desired party is present in his residence. Like you ever answer. And I don't like to talk into that voicemail. Anyway, Tony's coming too." "I'm always glad to see you. Come up, I'll make you some coffee." "Where's Uncle Tony then?" On the question, Elena's brother appeared down the street, parking his massive black SUV and lumbering up South High Street, bearing a brass lamp and a wood chair with a sagging wicker seat. "I just got all this stuff and there's no room in my storage unit. Last time we were here, I noticed a distinct need for furnishings." The need was distinct. Besides the folding chairs, Gabe and his roommate only had a dirty pink holy sofa found in the alley. Gabe used a card table as his desk. "Nice of you, Tony. A real chair." "There's more in the pickup. It's part of a dinette. It's more civilized than slouching on the floor like savages. Your pizza and frozen burritos will taste even better when you sit down," Elena put in. "Great, let's bring it up. Imagine setting down coffee cups on a tabletop instead of on the floor." Within minutes, Gabe, Elena, and Tony were setting beer glasses on that beautiful fake wood grain table. It already felt too late to drink coffee, too hot to drink coffee. Tony was going on about his son's best friend's little brother. Didn't Gabe remember Jeffrey's brother Marty, who was back in Denver now after having studied in Italy? "Yeah, I remember Marty. He was still a middle school kid when Jeffrey and I were in high school." Tony and Elena exchanged a smile. They had the same sly Croatian smile, a little sinister, Balkan mafia, wolfish, showing too many teeth. "He's not a kid anymore, Gabe," Elena said. "And is he ever tall? Almost as tall as you, and handsome." Gabe stared both of them down. "And you're telling me about Marty because..." "No reason," Tony said. I just figured you'd be seeing Jeffrey around and would want to know." Gabe sat back, finishing off a long draught of beer for fortitude. His mother and uncle were too giddy over this once removed bit of gossip. Was he being outed by his own mother and uncle? He'd assumed his mother was utterly clueless, deep in her heterosexual paradigm, though she had once taken aside Gabe in high school to say, "It's okay to bring your girlfriends home, you know," by way of asking, "Why the hell don't you have a girlfriend?" Tony, though, man of the world in his Saturday casual khakis and pressed dress shirt, was savvier and had asked Gabe repeatedly where the girls were. Gabe always was able to deflect these lines of questioning by mentioning his father. That silenced him. What sane guy would bring a nice girl home to endure his father's sullen glares and scorn? Elena's maybe matchmaking smile vanished too as she was started thinking about her husband. By the way, your dad, that's another reason why we stopped by, Tony said. He has these pains, Elena said, in his stomach somewhere. He won't tell me about it. He just gets mad when I ask. We wanted to tell you in person, Tony said. He's drinking a lot. How can he drink any more, Gabe asked, than he already does? On weekends, it's all day long, Elena said. I found him filling a glass of straight whiskey, Tony said, at 9:30 in the morning. I think he's trying to kill the pain, Elena said. He won't see a doctor. Good. Maybe he'll kill himself, Gabe thought, enjoying the first buzz from his beer. I hope the old man's not suffering too much, he lied. That's the end.
Thank you so much. That's great. So tell us a little bit about what inspired this book for you.
It began as a short story, and I think it was inspired by a house that I actually used to live in when I was going to the University of Denver. And it was a house that had been kind of a party house for many generations. And by that time I was finished with college and painting houses to support myself and not being able to partake in the strange life that was going on in the house. So writing about that life as like the only gay person in this very straight world kind of, I guess, was the seed that inspired the rest of the story.
Oh, I love that. That's cool. That's always, as I was saying to Dena, it's interesting and fun when we can take our own experiences, things that have happened to us in the past, and help it to imbue a novel so that it comes across very authentically. And I really felt your reading. I mean, a lot of those family dynamics. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, but I have to caution that even though it had an autobiographical beginning, it definitely goes into many fictional permutations throughout the book.
Sure.
You know,
all right.
as they do for everyone, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Hopefully no one writes entirely themselves. That would be kind of interesting, but I don't know. It's a level of introspection that I may not be ready for personally for myself. But.
Me neither.
Cool. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Great readings. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.